Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tipsy Tuesday.
On Wine and Wisdom with Lauren and Tara. Oh, yeah. Ching.
Quit making the ting sound.
I can't.
I just spilled wine all over myself.
First ever Wine and Wisdom unboxing. So, rosé mix.
Charged us like $50 for this. I thought Lauren's a lightweight, so she'll be drunk for sure. If we do it, what are you laughing at?
Look at your feet. Why do they look like that?
It's a Niagara wine. It's not that fancy.
I can't help it. It just like it wants to come out when we do that because we're not actually tinging.
By the way, we didn't plan our matching outfits, but I really dig it.
I know, me too, actually. Okay.
Today.
What are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about what to do when it looks like nothing is happening in your manifestation journey.
Yeah, when you've been like setting intentions for something specific and it like really seems like it's not happening, or you thought it was going to happen through a specific like set of circumstances or set of events, and then it didn't come.
Yeah.
Through that
and
way.
Sometimes it can even look like you're going backwards.
Yes.
Which is normal. So don't freak out. And I feel like I'll just dive in. It's like I've had that experience before, like last month when I set an intention for a 40K month and then I made no money for 2 weeks and I was freaking the F out, but it totally led me, like there's always a reason why these things are happening. Like the universe knows what you want. You just have to trust the process and continue to have faith. And I feel like that's the number one thing. And then I was just going to say for my tip for today's Tipsy Tuesday is to really appreciate and celebrate every single little piece of the journey. And I wrote an analogy that I'm very proud of today around puzzle pieces. And it's just that like every tiny little thing along the way of, even if it looks like a failure or like a new thought that you have, or even like a perspective shift is like a piece of the puzzle of your full manifestation. And I think like we get it twisted sometimes and we get kind of frustrated or disappointed and give up because we think like the whole puzzle is going to come to us like delivered and already done, but that's not the case. And the whole point is is the journey. And we think like it's all about the manifestation, but really it's about the journey to the manifestation, which is very cliche. But as you really dive into this whole manifestation world, you'll realize that like you're never done. Just like there's always another level, there's always something else. Like, so it's just really about appreciating every single tiny step. Otherwise, it's like, so the analogy that I used today was like, it's like if you have a puzzle and you put two pieces together, but then you get like frustrated. You're like, well, that's nothing. Like I have so far to go. This isn't even working. I'm failing, so on and so forth. Then you get frustrated and like put the puzzle in a box and give up. And that's what so many people do in their manifestation journey. But if you can celebrate putting two pieces together and get really excited, and that is just going to allow like the next piece to come easier and the next piece. And it's like as if by magic, you just keep picking the next perfect piece. And before you know it, the whole puzzle is done and your manifestation has arrived. So if it looks like nothing is working, how can you celebrate the smallest things? Even if it seems like it's a failure or like nothing's happening, it's like getting into that appreciation vibe.
Yeah, once you've been intentionally manifesting for a while, you're able to look back and be like, I see how even the things that really seemed like failures were actually working in my favor.
Yeah.
And I encourage people to sort of reframe the way they approach and view manifestation, where you don't just set this intention and then have this big thing show up in your life most of the time. And we know that can happen. And I think that's where people get hung up, is they've seen it happen where it's like, oh, well, I set an intention for, my soulmate and he walked in the next day, but how come it's not like that with $100,000, right? Most of the time, the way manifestation works is you're setting an intention and what you're getting is the steps, right? Is the intuitive nudges, as Tara always says, is like the unfolding in your job. Those puzzle pieces are like just there. It's like the next thing that you feel you feel pulled towards, the next thing that feels inspired to you. And I mean, like, this has been my biggest month in business, and I'm like aiming to like really go big with it. And I had a launch last week that like went well. We had a whole bunch of people sign up and like we're excited about it, but it was like less than half what I thought. And like, it was so aligned. It felt so fun and easy. And I really believe in the program, and all of it just seemed so, I didn't have a lot of doubt around it. And yet the people just didn't, like, the number of people that I was expecting just didn't show up, or haven't yet. Anyway, so, but because of that, I was like, okay, well, I still have like 10 days left in the month. I'm going to set the intention and see what comes my way. And the first thing that I did was like, I was like, well, maybe if I get like 2 one-on-one pay in full coaching clients, which is me trying to figure it out. And I don't actually feel that excited about that, because what I love in my business, like, I do love working with people, but I love, like, I feel so aligned when I'm creating something and when I'm like just in that flow of like putting something new out there. Like, that's the thing I love the most about my business as an artist. Anyway, so, but I set this intention and had just almost immediately a new big idea that came in that I'm launching in like 2 days from now, that just feels so like fun, flowy, easy. Like, I want to do it no matter how many people sign up. And I posted about it on Instagram, and I've had like a huge response to it. And like, that wouldn't have happened if the thing that I was doing last week that I thought was going to bring me the big numbers had gone the way that I wanted it to. Right. And so a lot of the time it's like things that look like they're not happening are actually happening in your favor, because now I'm going to have this whole other sort of like avenue for money to come into my business. It's going to be something that I might decide to launch over and over, or it's just going to be like an offer that I have on my website that gets to continue making passive income. And there's just so much expansion in things temporarily not going my way. Right. So instead of being like, you know, I have an intention for like a $40,000 or $50,000 month, instead of being like, oh, well, it's not happening. Instead, it was like, which I've totally done before. Instead, it was like, it just hasn't happened yet. I just need to keep talking about what I want and then allow for the guidance to come. And that's exactly what has happened. And that's how it's always happened.
Yeah.
For me, right?
Yeah. I think it is so important to recognize that like the failures are such an important part of the journey. And I feel like the most important things that ever happened to me were the things that seemed like the worst things that ever happened to me. And they actually led to the most amazing things. So that's huge. Yeah.
So I think we're just so quick to be like, oh, it didn't happen within a week, or it didn't happen how I thought it was going to, so it's not happening and I can't trust the universe. Instead, just reframe that to like, it's all, if we instead could just be like, I've set this intention, I know that it's coming into my reality, and I'm just going to be like the passive observer of whatever it is that comes my way, we would just like flow down the river towards what we wanted, and it would come so quickly. But instead what we do is we're like, well, I want this thing and I need it to come now, and it looks like it's not, so I'm just going to give up faith altogether and tell the story of the fact of this isn't happening.
Yeah. It's
and
like,
it doesn't.
We like take 2 steps forward when we set the intention, we get all excited. And then if it doesn't work how we think it's supposed to work, then we take like 10 steps back, when really you just need to keep being persistent. And that's the thing that I feel like with manifestation, like it's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be like feeling good and feeling excited about your life and like really celebrating the things. And like, why is that something that you would ever give up on? You know, it's like, it should be a fun process. Like, it shouldn't feel like you're like desperately trying to manifest and like, oh my God, I'm exhausted. Like, no, it should feel like you're living your life and you set intentions and you get excited along the way, and it all unfolds in the most magical way possible.
Yeah, I think that's what I always am brought back to once I do have this experience of like an inspired idea coming, is like, it is supposed to be easy, and we're not supposed to like force it to come through like, oh, well, I was launching this thing and that felt like a inspired idea, so why isn't like, and what I often do during a launch is like visualize and like try to force myself to believe that this is how many people are going to sign up and blah, blah, blah. And like, it never works. It's like the things that have always had, the events that have transpired that result in a big manifestation or like a quantum leap have always been so easy and flowy. And there was no like me trying to force it through getting into alignment or forcing myself to believe. I have I have tried very hard to figure out how to force belief. It doesn't work. Sarah knows.
Me too. And and I think it's also like an ego thing. Like we want to be like, oh, I set the intention for this and then it happened right away. But if we can like take our ego out of it and be like, okay, I've set the intention for a 40K month and then I just had so much fun. Like that's kind of what I'm trying to do, and just let it unfold. And I know it will happen when it happens, but I like feel like it's so stressful every month to be like, okay, this is the month. And like, but then it's all this unnecessary pressure. And instead, like, why not enjoy the unfolding and know that it's happening regardless?
Yeah, like that's been what I've been doing, is just really going back to like the basics of mind magic, which is like, I'm just throughout the day telling the story of a 50K month. And it's not, the story is not, I'm making $50,000 this month. It's just, I make $50,000 a month in my business. And as soon as there's resistance there, it means I'm getting too serious about it and I need to just back off. It should be like, yeah, I make $50,000 a month in my business. This is so fun. And like, you're telling that story just for the sake of it being fun. Mm-hmm. And then you're just like going about your day, you know, like that's been my approach. Rather than like, okay, I'm trying to force myself to believe that I make $50,000 a month when I don't yet, or I'm trying to, that has never, ever worked. And it makes manifestation exhausting because you're like constantly watching your thoughts. Yes, exactly. So believe harder. All the time.
One last little point was like, there's some people in my manifestation experiment, they're like, I feel like I'm not doing enough. And it's like, it's not about doing all these things and having a routine and like setting aside an hour a day to like manifest. Like you are manifesting all the time, whether you like it or not. So it's really what it's about is like getting happy, enjoying your life, having fun, knowing that the intention is set and you can't mess it up unless you give up. Like you just got to keep on doing your best every day and like living your life. Like it's not like this drastic thing, I feel like.
Yeah. Everything that has ever like, all these big manifestations or big up levels in income have always been this like flowy thing. It's never been like, well, I set an intention and then I forced my brain to believe it and I was miserable, but I made it come in. It's never worked. No. Like my ego just takes over within a short period of time and then I start focusing on the lack. So instead, if we could just be like easy about like, it's kind of like, I mean, what Tara was saying, it's not about doing, it's about who you're being. And for me, like the fastest, I really enjoy visualizing, but the fastest way to just sort of tune into that throughout the day is to just be very casual about like, it feels so fun to make $50,000 a month. Or if you can't get there, you can say, I can't wait to experience what it's like to make this much money. Or like, I know that I'm headed there and it's inevitable for me. Like telling the story of it that's like fun and easy, just because manifestation is supposed to be fun, and doing it in a way that is not too resistance causing.
Yeah. I love just being like, what if I already made 40K this month? Like, how would I feel? And it's just an instant energy shift that allows me to show up differently. And it's so powerful and it takes all the resistance out of it.
Yep.
Have fun. Let go. Just enjoy it.
Have fun and stop deciding that because it didn't happen through that one avenue that you were trying to force it to happen through. Stop deciding that means it's not happening.
Yeah, that just means that wasn't the best way for it to happen.
Or that was just one of the steps required for it to happen.
Exactly. One of the puzzle pieces.
One of the puzzle pieces, exactly. Or even a bunch of the puzzle pieces.
Yeah.
Right? And that's like, when I look back at the growth of my business, there were so many puzzle pieces that were like, nobody signed up for this. You like really screwed this up. That launch didn't go well. You went $10,000 into debt that month. Like there were so many puzzle pieces that when I look back, everything was as it needed to be because those like failures, quote unquote, ended up inspiring, big breakthrough programs later on. I learned what didn't work and that helped me learn what would. And like, it was all exactly what it needed to be. None of it meant that it wasn't happening. It just meant like, this is just a necessary step so that it can happen.
And like, imagine if all your courses just like exploded right away. Like, I feel like that's such a huge aspect of your business is you help people be like, that's okay. Like they could never relate to you if you were just like, yeah, it was so great.
That's what I was going to say is like, I'm a good coach because I had business coach that I had things that didn't go my way at all. And had it been this like just, effortless trajectory up to what I wanted, I wouldn't be able to relate. I've had coaches who had that experience or had something like it. Like they literally just like started manifesting 30K months within 3 months and it never went down from there. And like, I didn't feel like when I would say like, how do I build confidence? They'd be like, oh, well, you just believe. Like it was, like, so there was just, so I was like, that does not help me because clearly I've been trying to do that. Like, so yeah. So all of it is just, but so many people give up before they can, all of that was happening in my favor.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay.
If it's not happening. Yeah.
Tuesday.
If it's not happening, I mean, it is happening. That's the thing. It's not that it's not happening. It is happening.
Yeah.
Keep going.
If it's not happening, it's happening. Just keep like that.
It's not happening it's happening in the not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Good topic.
You guys next week.
Ting.
Oh my God.